Welcome to Crash Dudes. I'm Tanner.
And I'm Frankie.
And this is Crash Dude Science. Today we'll be talking about a rising energy source called geothermal energy.
Geothermal energy is the use of heat from the earth to make energy.
But it's not that simple. Geothermal energy is most abundant in a region of Earth called the Ring of Fire. This is a region in the Pacific that stretches all the way from Japan to the western coast of the U.S.
This is so because this is a place where most volcanic activity happens and where it is easiest to drill and obtain steady underground source of heat to power geothermal energy plants.
Mr. Dudes, will we ever run out of this resource since it was powered by the Earth? No, curious student. This source is completely renewable. It will be available as long as the Earth is still in existence.
The only drawback is that some drilling sites might cool down and we would have to find another site to drill into, and that takes a while.
Mr. Dudes, why should we ever use this if we already have a set infrastructure based on fossil fuels?
Well, we are already using it in some areas along the Pacific shores of the U.S. and many other countries such as France, Turkey, New Zealand, and Japan.
Geothermal energy is as cheap as any other fossil fuel like coal or natural gas and is available 24 hours a day. Plus, with all of that, has very little pollutants.
It produces 1/6 of CO2 that natural gas produces and almost no sulfur.
Mr. Dudes, if it is so good, why isn't it the main source of energy instead of toxic fossil fuels? Well, that's a good question. The biggest reason for that is mainly the cost. The initial expense is so high that it's hard to build a lot of factories, and there's also a lot of drilling and piping involved, so that's very expensive. And also, it takes a while to switch from the other source as a main source of energy to geothermal, which could take a while.
Plus, it produces small amounts of natural chemicals, including nitrogen sulfide, but they can be filtered out and used in fertilizers.
Even the government realizes that this energy source has star potential. Also, with the increased amount of nuclear power meltdowns and fossil fuel pollutants, the quickening of global warming is becoming extremely clear. So the government projects that are solely based on making more renewable energy are beginning to surface.
The Geothermal Technologies Office supports research and developments in innovative technologies that reduce the risk and cost of bringing geothermal power online in partnership with industry, academics, and DOE.
Mr. Dudes, but with today's industry totally relying on fossil fuels, how's this going to be effective in this infrastructure? Well, I can put it to you like this. Have you ever sat at the popular table? Yeah, I thought so. Now picture all the fossil fuels sitting at that table like the popular kids do. As you know, they don't just let anyone sit at the popular table. So the geothermal energy is going to be in the background, but it's going to be supplying steady energy for the consumers or the other students at the high school. So as the students realize that the fossil fuels are doing crappy things like releasing pollutants, they'll start to steadily go over and switch to the other source of fuel, which is the geothermal. So over time, geothermal energy will eventually become more and more prominent and eventually maybe be the main source of energy in the world or America. Wow, I never thought about it like that. It's all clear to me now.
You heard it here, folks. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, let's recap.
Geothermal power is cleaner than coal, natural gas, while also costing just as much or less than both of them. Even though the power plants are more expensive, initially they use less kilowatts per hour than coal.
These other fossil fuels may be easier to find and more commercially available, but they are slowly killing the planet with their pollutants, while they also do less for the energy efficiency. Wow, that was awesome, dudes. I can't wait to learn more about this energy source and its seemingly endless possibilities.
Before you go, here are some fun facts to get you started with your research.
This practice of using geothermal energy is over 2,000 years old, since the Romans, Chinese, and even Native Americans used it as a source of hot water, and used it for mineral baths that they believed healed almost any disease at the time.
Speaking of heat, that heat from geothermal plants can also be commercially used for heating in many homes when it is extracted.
Well, that's all for today. I'm Tanner.
And I'm Frankie.
And this has been Crash Dude Science. Yeah, roll out. Yeah.